Hands in Anjali Mudra. Slowly close your eyes. Deep inhale, exhale. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yoga karottam pravaram munina patanjalim pranjalivanatosmi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, good evening, everyone. So let's get started. Right. So, so far we talked about the chapter 1 in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where it focused on giving you what are the definitions and tells you what is yoga in a very broad view. So for a person who understood chapter 1 will basically be able to understand, okay, so yoga is this. So yoga is something to do with your mind. It's not the or the hatha yoga only what we are doing. So for you to be calm, for you to be restful, for you to be enjoyful, so joyful basically, for you, for all of those, the root is your mind, right? It doesn't matter what you wear, what family you are coming from, what sort of wealth that you have, what sort of a job that you are doing. So everything has to do with your mind, right? So then one would say, okay, there are certain circumstances which is coming on our way. And so because of that, because of those circumstances, our mind gets shaken. So in that case, how do you say that everything is depend on your mind, right? Why? It depends on how you take that to your mind. Anything and everything, how you take it to your mind is basically either giving you distress or happiness, right? So all the events which is happening around you, whatever the events that you are involved with, everything are actually external. You have to be very careful about what you put to your mind and what sort of things you take out from your mind, right? So then for that, Patanjali explains in the first chapter. So there is something called thoughts. These thoughts are like the waves. We learned last week, these waves are like actual waves. In a beach, you see waves. But when you go to the middle of the ocean, you don't see waves. But if you stand on the middle of the ocean, you can see that on the beach, there are waves. So meaning, first of all, we all are in the wave region. So whatever comes on our way, we shake, right? And we get panicked, right? All these things are happening. But if you improve your mind, you come to a state where you actually distance yourself from this day-to-day waves happening, right? Somebody is saying there's a protest going on here. Somebody is saying this is not there. Somebody is saying that is not there. Somebody would say this person died. Then somebody would say, okay, they got a child. Then somebody would say your organization is closed, right? Then somebody will come and say there's a war going on this place, right? And then while thinking about all these things, you try to cook and then you cut your hand, right? So getting all these things, it's up to you what you take to your mind, to what level that you take to your mind, and how you leave it aside, right? So if you take everything to your mind, so this is like a shallow beach. So much waves are happening, people are swimming, People are, diving and all these things are happening. But when you go to the middle of the ocean, basically you see, okay, so much waves are happening over there, but I don't need to worry about those things. I don't need to become a part of those waves. I be very calm, right? So what are those types of waves Patanjali explained because of how you perceive things with your five senses. It can be due to erroneous knowledge. It can be due to a problem with your eye, you don't see something. You and a rat see the same thing but different. Who can tell who sees the right thing? Nobody can tell, right? So, because of that, we should not come to a conclusion that what we see is the right thing, what we see is the ultimate, right? But we all see, maybe I see two of you wearing black t-shirts, blue and a black t-shirt. Somebody might come and say, no, those are red t-shirts. So what is red? What is black? Who defined that? Who defined color? What is the difference between those two? So we can keep on arguing. A dog and myself can argue. The dog will say, no, I see white. I see blue. Then the dog will say, there's nothing called blue. It's all black and white, right? So likewise, we can keep on arguing, right? So the perspectives which are fivefold are creating waves in our mind. So we have to understand this. Now, then Patanjali explains then how to bring up happiness to your mind. What are the methods, right? And then likewise, Patanjali keep on giving you some prescriptions, right? So in chapter 2, what we are actually trying to do is we are trying to get the prescription, open the prescription, and go to the pharmacy and buy the medicine, and we are going to drink the medicine, right? So basically in chapter 2, he is explaining this is, so he is basically going inside to the mind and he is breaking the mind into different places, right? And he's trying to explain this is why this happens, this is why this happens. For this to be stopped, you have to do this. Likewise. So that's why even if you miss the first chapter, right? Second chapter is a very practical one, right? But when you are doing the second chapter, if you listen to the first chapter, it would be helpful. And you will always go back and basically try to understand the first chapter again. You might need certain definitions which we used in first chapter to understand second chapter, but that is okay, right? So I'm here, so we will try to understand it in the way that we can, right? Okay, so we are going to the first sutra. So here, unlike first chapter, we are not running all over the place. We are not explaining too many things. We are only focusing on the mind. Mind, so there is a mind, there is a monkey mind, right? There is a mind which is taking different thoughts, jumping to one branch to another branch to another branch. So at the end of the second chapter, it will tell you how this mind can sit on one branch and stay calm. Right? Till then, Patanjali first of all tells in the second chapter the nature of the mind. Mind is running all over the place. Then Patanjali will tell how to slow down this running down. Then he will say how to sit down, but still the mind is going everywhere. How to bring the mind to one point. Then Patanjali explains how to keep in that point for a prolonged time. Then doing that practice basically will bring you to Samadhi. That's the whole second chapter. Nothing else. Right? So he's very focused. Right? Good. So we will go to the first sutra. So Patanjali says before that. So second chapter is named as Sadhana Pada. Right? First chapter is called Samadhi Pada. Samadhi Pada is he is actually explaining the contemplation. What is contemplation? What are the parts of it? Why we do not contemplate? On what can we contemplate? All these things he's telling. Second chapter, sadhana, is actually the practice. Then he's in the practice chapter. Okay, so first chapter. So take a thought to your mind that you're going to go through all the second chapter across. and then you are going to understand it, right? So that's a resolution that you need to make. Okay, so we will go to the second chapter. So the first sutra in second chapter out of 50 plus, right? Tapa swadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani kriya yoga. So first chapter he said what is yoga. Second chapter he's saying what is kriya yoga. Kriya yoga is nothing anything different to yoga. It is the yoga of action, meaning how you action the yoga what you learn. That is what we call as kriya yoga. So kriya yoga is what he's saying is burning zeal in practice, right? Burning zeal in practice, self-study, study of scriptures, and surrender to ultimate are the acts of yoga. So Kriya Yoga, you can say how to action yoga, or you can say acts of yoga. Now, we know what is yoga. Yoga is basically Chitta Vritti Nirodha. The waves of the mind will come to halt. How to action that, how to go there is what you call as Kriya Yoga. So, the meaning of Kriya Yoga, Patanjali explains, it is three parts, right? Number one, tapas, right? There's a beautiful meaning behind tapas. So, whenever I say tapas, you get a image of a tapasi, right? Or tapasa in Himalayas or in Buddha's time or in Upanishad's time, right? That's fine. Then study of scriptures, right? Study of the Dharma. You, whatever the religion that you belong to, you must understand all these religions have prevailed for thousands of years, right? Upanishads, Hinduism is old like 10,000, 15,000 plus years. Buddhism, 2,500 plus years, right? From the point where he was born till date, it's still there. Islam is also something like that. Christianity is also something like that. So, even today, you can see there are a lot of other people trying to invent religions, right? But those scriptures or whatever they invent doesn't even last for at least a year, right? They just vanish. So these particular religions or philosophies have been there so long because there has to be some meaning in that, right? The people who must have gone through those must have realized something. So that's why those things are still prevailing, right? So Patanjali says tapas is meditation, bhavana, right? Tapas is meditation, bhavana, right? And study of those scriptures, those ancient scriptures, and then surrender to the ultimate truth. Whatever you do in your life, if you know this is the truth of this, right? How much you go after somebody, something, or like that, if you understand what's the point of going after, then you will not go after. At the point, you will decide, right? So you will not. So that is what is understood by the surrender to the ultimate. That is the ultimate truth. So Patanjali says the meaning of acts of yoga, meaning how to action yoga, is by three things. Number one, meditation. Number two, study the scriptures. Now what we are doing is actually studying the scripture. Number three, you must surrender to the ultimate truth, right? Once you learn what is the truth, don't walk like you don't know the truth. Sometimes we do that, right? So we see somebody, and then since we don't want to face that situation, we walk around. We walk like we didn't see the person, right? But the truth is the person is there. So it's just like that. Anything that you see, hear, smell, taste, feel, think, there is one truth only, right? That truth we will learn today itself. right? So that truth you need to accept. So if you accept that, that is an action of yoga. For you to understand the truth, you need to know that truth. That is by studying of scriptures, right? For you to do both of these, you have to have a discipline. That discipline you derive through meditation, right? So, meditation is meant as tapas, swadhyaya, tapas. Tapa or tapa. In Sinhala, tapa is heat, right? In Sanskrit also, tapa is heat, right? So now when I say tapas, you get a very, very serene kind of tapasi under a tree meditating, right? But what does he actually do? He is burning his kleshas. Burning the kleshas is what you mean as tapas. Not that, just sitting down and keep your eyes closed. That's why you say closing your eyes is not enough. You can keep your eyes closed and show that the world that you are, you are a yogi. But closing your eyes is not enough. You need to contemplate who you are. What brings the sadness in life? What brings the happiness in life? What is the truth between these, right? Then you need to basically burn the kleshas out, right? Everybody understand what is the meaning of kleshas, right? We will come to that. There is a sutra specifically for that. So there I will in detail explain that as well. So burning the kleshas is what you should do by sitting down, right? So then, so three things Patanjali says, Kriya Yoga, not a big deal. Three things. Number one is meditation. Not just meditation, tapas, meaning burn your kleshas. Once you burn your kleshas, let's say there is a dish. There is nice or eatable food as well as spoiled food. Let's call this edible food as goodness. Rest of it, the spoiled things, we will call as kleshas. If you burn these kleshas out of this plate, you will be left with goodness only. Once you have that goodness, you have the ability to study the scriptures. You have the discipline to study the scriptures. When you study the scriptures, you will understand what is the ultimate truth in this world. What is this world? What are you? What's your eyeball? Why you put you put paint here, all these places, and you walk like a Torana in the road. But what's the point of all these things, right? That you will understand, which is the ultimate truth. So when you do anything, when you know the ultimate truth, don't walk like you don't know it, right? Okay, so for an example, you see something, you start liking it, right? Now what is there? Now actually raga is start to come. Raga is a klesha. If you know raga is a klesha, you know, okay, I saw it. Now when I come home, I keep on thinking about it. Why? Because a raga has gone inside and it keep on, now the mind is, eyes, actually your mind gathered it through your eyes. Now the mind is doing its work. If you know the ultimate truth that raga is a klesha, this will only accumulate karma to me, which will lengthen my samsaric cycle, then you will not do that. You will see somebody, you will get over it. But you will not get over it. That's where, knowing the ultimate truth, you behave like you don't know the ultimate truth. That is not yoga, right? So if you learn this, you have to practice it, right? Otherwise, you will become an exercise or a gymnastic specialist by knowing all the Hatha Yoga asana. No point of doing that. right? Now we'll go to the next this thing. So the next sutra, he's saying, Samadhi bhavanartha klesha thanu karanarthascha. Meaning, the practice of yoga reduce afflictions and leads to samadhi. There are a couple of typos here because I started doing the slides at 5:30, right? So there are a couple of typos. So those typos you can walk like you didn't see, right? That's okay. So the practice of yoga reduces the afflictions and leads to samadhi. So if you practice that Kriya Yoga, which we talked about, burn the kleshas, right? Study the scriptures, and then see the ultimate truth in everything. If you do that, actually your mind is not burdened with so many things. Everything that you see here and all has one truth, right? So then reducing those kleshas, afflictions is kleshas, right? Here the word klesha is here, right? That will help you to reach the samadhi. At the end, last sutra in chapter 2, Patanjali says, what exactly is samadhi? What do you mean by samadhi? For the moment, let's imagine samadhi is a destination, okay, a state of mind. So samadhi, so the practice of yoga reduce the afflictions. Practice of those three things reduce the kleshas, which when the kleshas are getting reduced, you automatically go towards the samadhi. When the kleshas are not there, you actually start to question them. Why am I living? What is this? What am I doing? You start to question everything. Then you only see the truth in everything. This is it. This is it. Right? Then actually that becomes also one-pointedness. Your mind always only get the truth only. Then even if you sit down, it's very easy for you to keep that mind state for a long time. Right? Moving to third sutra. Now he explains three things. Now what he is explaining, so first sutra he said, Kriya Yoga is this, three things. Second sutra he said, if you do that Kriya Yoga, kleshas will be reduced and help you to reach samadhi. Third sutra he is telling, what are kleshas? Right? There are a couple of things. There are few things. 5 kleshas which disturb the equilibrium of consciousness are, number 1, called avidya. Right? I'm pretty sure all of you must have learned the word avidya. Right? So, what is avidya? Yeah. So, what is avidya? Lack of spiritual knowledge. I actually put a word there, the blindness. Right? So, if you don't know the spiritual knowledge, right, you will tell a lie to somebody and you will have a joy by saying that lie to that person, and you will start enjoying his suffering, and you will start telling that to other people and make them also enjoy. What are you doing? All these are papa, right? These are things according to even Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Yama Niyama, right? Certain things you should do, certain things you should not do. Don't gossip, don't steal, right? All these you should not do. So, if you don't have that knowledge, you are a blind person. You are a person filled with avidya, right? Meaning you don't have the wisdom. You don't have the right knowledge. A very highly educated person, also we can call him, he is knowledgeable, but he doesn't have the wisdom. Right? There are so much educated people doing so many certain industries, certain organizations, which make this world go towards health. Right? So, for an example, you can make a profit by selling food. Now you find a chemical method through chemical engineering, right? You make that food without natural ingredients, but with chemical ingredients. Then you double the profit, right? So your whole business knowledge, your whole chemical engineering knowledge, maybe you have a doctorate in chemical engineering. What are you using for to kill other people? So being educated doesn't mean that you have the spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is something you have to get through spiritual texts, right? So not having that, such a person is like a blind man. So that type of a person you call is filled with avidya, right? Second, klesha. So one klesha is avidya. Second klesha is called ego. Ego is not that, I am so proud that, I am this, that, and the other. More than that, ego means you always have this feeling of I, myself. I want this, I want that. Even though the next person next to me suffers, still it's okay because I don't suffer. You basically think of yourself as a separate entity from this nature. How can that be possible? If you zoom out the whole, so you are there, you are sitting somewhere right now. Then you zoom out, then somebody see, okay, there's a house. Then you zoom out, there's a city. Then you zoom out, there's a country. Then you zoom out, there's a world, right? So you are actually sitting on the world. This whole world is the whole ecosystem. It's part of the universe. It's part of the nature. So then how can you segregate yourself as I and say, I am richer than him, right? If a country is poor, for an example, everybody in that country is either poor or rich, right? You may be poor with money, you may be poor with qualities, you may be poor with human habits, right? So if something is not right in a particular environment, everybody get affected with it, right? You can't say, yeah, those people are poor, I am still rich. No, right? So this I part of it, if you let go of I, right? They say Yoga Swami has given a nice verse saying, you will find yourself when you kill yourself. Meaning, you will find yourself when you kill the I-ness. This whole ego of I want this, I like this, I am that. If you kill that, if you take I out of all these sentences, what you are left with is this, that, this, that. This is that. That's it. Simple as that. Right? So if you always, why you love somebody? Because you have an I. You don't love, you love somebody because of the pleasures, benefits, happiness that you get out of that person, right? So you say, I love you, but actually you love yourself. That's the truth. If you really think about it, I know none of the people in the screen will nod your head. They will say, no, it's not the case. We really love you. That's why we say we love you, right? You don't really love them. You love yourself. Right? You love yourself. You want to be happy. So that's why they say when you kneel down and show the ring, they say, will you marry me? And we will spend a happy life together. So marrying you will make me spend a happy life. Okay. So let's get married. So that's why they are so happy when they say yes. Right. Okay. So that's the story of I. Right? So attach yourself with everything. That is I. When you kill I, you don't attach yourself with everything. Then the next one is the next couple of things are the most dangerous friends that you can ever have. Number 3 is raga, is desire, attachment, passion, love, affection, joy, pleasure, etc., you call it. So let me ask you a question. So a mother loves a child. Is it raga? Will the mother feel sorry if somebody come and hurt the child? Yeah. So there's a bond. The bond is what you call as raga. When you create a bond, it can be a happy bond, it can be a sad bond, right? You call it different names. Names are coming from a language. If you don't have a language, you don't have names for this, right? You call it love, affection, passion, lust, happiness, sadness, sorrow. All of it comes when you create a bond. When there's a bond between two things only, the whole raga starts. My child, right? My is the bond. If the bond is not there, child, right? You go to a ashram and you see thousands of little children are being ordained, right? Becoming monks, and you feel so happy. You feel so happy. You want to even you want to stay there, keep worshipping and everything. But if somebody asks the question, why don't you donate your child also here so that he also become a monk, he or she become a monk? Then immediately what happens? No, he's not ready for that. Right? Now, who are you to tell that he is not ready for that? The bond of raga only talking that, right? Bond of raga. And so you are telling he is not ready. And who are you to tell that? Because I am his mother. Now the I came in. So two bonds, right? I is there and the bond towards that person is there, right? And not having the spiritual knowledge, you are saying, no, he is not ready for that. Because not knowing, that's the best way you can go for. You are saying, no, that's not the right way to go, right? Whether that's the right way or wrong way is taught in the scriptures, right? Then, dvesha, right? Let me ask a nice question, right? So if you can switch on the video and just give the yes like this and no like this, that is sufficient. You don't need to talk. Okay? When somebody cries out of happiness, out of sorrow, tears are coming out of your eyes on the cheeks, right? You are crying. When you cry, what is that? Is it dvesha or not? If it is dvesha, you can do this. If it is not dvesha, you can do this. But don't worry, I'm not going to ask if it is not dvesha, what is it? Is it dvesha? You cry because of dvesha, right? If you didn't know this, learn it, right? If you want to learn about this in detail, go and read Abhidharma in Buddhism, right? It will give you all the shades of dvesha, right? Why you cry at something is because you can't have it, you can't achieve it, you are losing it. Something is not going in the way you want, right? When something is not going in the way you want, only you cry. Why you cry? Because your words can't express it anymore. When your words can't express it anymore, only you cry. Otherwise, you keep on, blackguarding, you will scream, you will shout at the person, you will do all these things. But when everything comes to an end, nothing is working, right? So the water comes out from your eyes, right? So, crying, be very careful. Crying, right? So, tears of happiness, it doesn't happen, it's different, right? Crying over something, somebody says he or she cried over this. Why? because he or she could not express it in words anymore. Don't know how to express it. You can't shake the hands and express it. No, then it comes out from the body, right? So, raga is desire, attachment, love, passion. I would call it a bond. Raga is a bond. Anything, any bond that you create is created out of raga. Dvesha is you don't like something. You don't like the way how things are going on, right? You don't like this person. You don't like that color. You don't like that sound. You don't like the voice of that person, right? So that is dvesha. We will learn about these fellows in the upcoming sutras. Next one is abhiniveshaha. Abhiniveshaha, this is in Sanskrit or Pali, we call it bhavatanha, right? Bhavatanha is what you call as abhiniveshaha. What is bhava? It is this life. Tanha is greed, right? So I love my life. I love to live like this. I love to stay here. I love to go there, right? So that's why people are very careful and scared and keeping away from things that will kill them, right? So you like this life, whatever said and done, we love this life, right? When an incident happens, when an accident happens, people scream saying, please help me, help me, help me. Why? Because you love this life so much. Why you love this life is because you have not learned to exit the life. When we don't know how to exit our life, we love this life. More than we love this life, we are scared of going away from this life, right? So abhinivesha is love of life, or you call it fear of death, clinging to life. Certain things I don't want to do that because those are like too risky things. So I choose not to do that, right? Leaning towards attachments, right? You are not only attached to material things, not you, let's say we. We are not only attached to material things, we are even attached to our own life, which is not even tangible, right? And day in, day out, we go through sorrow. Day in, day out, we go through all the miseries, but still, whatever said and done, we love our life. We don't want to let that go, right? So those are what leads to pain, distress, sorrow, and trouble. So whatever brings you pain, distress, sorrow, and trouble is a klesha. It can be because due to lack of spiritual knowledge. It can be due to I am so thinking about myself, right? It's my phone, it's my book, it's my house, it's my wife, it's my husband. You say it's my wife and my husband, right? At which point you don't know whether that my part will go out, right? So, I mean, how can you even tell a person that you are my this one? That person has its own life. Even the dog, we are saying it's my dog, my pet, right? My pet. A bond is created. That's why when the pet dies, you cry. Why you cry? Why the tears are coming? Because you can't bring back the pet again. So that you can't do anything anymore other than crying. So crying is the last resort. It's like the last fuel tank. When all the fuel are over, the last bowser comes with the tears, right? So that is why you cry. So whatever causes you pain, distress, sorrow, trouble, we call them as klesha. What are these klesha? Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and bhavatrushna or abhinivesha. So this klesha will not keep you a calm mind. It will, it will disturb your mind. It will disturb the equilibrium of your mind. Then we are meeting another new friend. 2.4. Avidya kshetram uttaresham Prashupta Thanu Vichinna Udharana, meaning lack of true knowledge is the source of all the pains and sorrows, whether dormant, attenuated, interrupted, or fully active. Meaning, this avidya, right? So what it tells is there are four states, right? All the kleshas are having four states. These four states are inactive. Sometimes this klesha is inside but inactive. So right now, you may be having bonds with too many things, but right now you are not worrying about that. For an example, or maybe you have a vehicle. You love the vehicle, you clean the vehicle, but because we are talking about something else right now, that bond doesn't come out in your mind, right? So we call it inactive. That klesha is inactive. Understood? Right? So you have a bond over something, but since we are engaged with something else, now we are not worrying. Now we are not actively worrying about that problem. Now we are not actively worrying about the vehicle, a pet, right? So that is the inactive state of a klesha, any klesha, right? Then anushaya is subtle. So we are talking about this, but there are certain things running in your mind. What to cook for dinner? Will the child come home before the class finishes? What to cook for him? The dog is, roaming around. Maybe he's worried or something, scared. All these things are in a very background level, like a screensaver, it's running, right? Even though your mind is fully focused, or not fully, mainly focused on something else, still there are certain things in a very background level, it's running. That is the second state. One is inactive. That klesha, right now it's not active. Right now you are not actively worrying about something, right? Second stage is in a very background level, it's there. It's not hurting you too much, but it does hurt to a level. It does keep you worried, right? Third one, called thin, lean, sleepy. I can't find these English words. So one is dormant, attenuated, interrupted, right? Yeah, interrupted is functioning, but not in full force. Right? Functioning, but not in full force. Now, right now, none of you are crying over somebody who died. Right now, none of you are crying over somebody, a loved one who died. Right? But that is there in your mind. Right? Then the fourth is active state. So active is right now you're worrying over something. So four stages of anything. So this is like ex-girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, last girlfriend, and the current girlfriend. About the current girlfriend, you are actively worrying. Last girlfriend, okay. Last girlfriend, yeah, okay, fine. The other one, you are not worrying at all, but still they are in the mind. Person is there in the mind, but not worried, taken care of. Next. So those are the four states. Understood? So one is, it's totally under the carpet. That chapter is gone, but you know it's under the carpet. It has not slipped away from your mind. Huh? It's under the carpet. You know where it is, but it's fully inactive. Then the second one is in the next village. You know the person is living in that other village. Okay, that's fine. And the other one is, okay, this one is living next door. You can even hear the sound, so I'll keep myself down and stay there. And the active state is the person is right next to you. Okay. I don't know whether I'm giving bad examples to you, but that is a good way of explaining, I guess, right? So those are the four states of klesha. a klesha will be, right? Under the carpet, on the carpet, on the roof, right next to you, right? Okay. Then, anitya asuchi, you know that word. Dukkha anatmasu nitya suchi sukha atma khyati avidya. Now, in this line, Patanjali explains what is avidya. Avidya is mistaking the transient for the permanent. Everything in this world is not permanent. Right now, even though you are sitting, your body cells are dying, leaving yourself, and new ones are coming in. Right? So every single thing around you right now, either it's getting utpada, meaning being born, thiti, meaning stay, bhanga, meaning go away. 3 stages of anything. Imagine yourself, right? Now, let's say the clock is running really fast, right? Now the clock is running normal speed. If the clock is running really fast, you will see Amal being born, Amal became a man, and Amal died. Right? Like this, you will see that if the clock is running really fast, something being born, grow up, and die. Right? So everything in this world, everything in this universe is like that. Right? That's what even in Hinduism they say, Rudra, Vishnu, sorry, Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. Brahma is being born part of it. Vishnu is the stable part of it. Rudra is the destroying part of it. Right? Everything in this world, nothing is permanent. So, one of the ways of avidya is thinking what is not eternal as eternal. Right? Thinking that your vehicle will stay with you forever. Thinking your fame, your name, your youthness, your beauty, your energeticness will stay with you forever is avidya. It will not. Take human life as an example, right? At your young age, you are beautiful, you are active. But when you grow old, you are not beautiful. Come on. Even a beauty queen becomes a dead body. And even if you say, try to give that dead body to somebody along with money, nobody will buy that. Right? I have a nice video to show you actually this whole being born, stay, and dying part of it to show what is the impermanence, but it's a little too much. So if you are ready, if you're okay to see some blood and everything right now, I can show you. Otherwise, no. Right? Good. Then asuchi. What is asuchi? It's what you do in the bathroom, right? Which is impure. Nobody likes it. That's why you have a special place in the house to do that lock, and it goes to a different way, right? So what is impure should be understood as impure. Don't try to sugarcoat it and call it pure, right? So number one is, so this verse explains what is avidya. Number one is thinking what is not permanent as permanent. That is avidya. Thinking what is impure as pure. That is also avidya. Thinking what gives you distress as happiness is also avidya. Every bond that you create, that we create, not you, right? Every bond that we create gives instant happiness, right? Every bond you create gives instant happiness, but it's not happiness. It's actually start of another whole karmic cycle, right? So if you know that, then that is vidya. But if you don't know, but if you think this is giving whatever will bring you pain, you think it is actually giving me happiness, meaning you are full of avidya, right? Then you think of yourself as something different, away from the nature, away from the universal truth. You think she will get old, he will get old, but I am young. That is avidya. So we say sometimes people talk like they are going to live forever. We say, right? We say sometimes when you are scolding people, okay, he thinks that he is going to live forever, and then you scold that person. What about you? You are also not going to live forever, right? So if you understand that, even for criticism, you will not scold that person like that. Okay, what is there to criticize then? That person is also dying. You are also dying. So what is the superiority of yours to give a statement about somebody else? Both of you will die, so for sure, right? Even if you do hatha yoga, they say if you do your pranayama really well, right? If you do your pranayama every day, you will live up to 120 years. What does that say? You still die. Even if you do hatha yoga, even if you master your pranayama, you still die. We all die, right? Only pictures will be there on the screen, like BK's Iyengar, right? BK's Iyengar's black and white videos are still there. Amazing hatha yogi. I actually watched them, but he also died. Even though he's an amazing hatha yogi, he died. Not only him, Buddha also died, right? So if you think that something, so that happens to him, so that normal whole world science applies to him or her, not me, that is stupidity, that is ego. So that is also avidya. Thinking something impermanent as permanent, looking at something impure as pure, getting something giving you stress or distress, pain as a pleasure, and then keeping yourself away from the truth. This is what you call as avidya, right? Then through darshana shaktyo, through darshana shaktyo, ekatmata iva asmita. Now we are explaining another part of avidya, right? Egoism, what is I-ness, is the identification of the seer with instrumental power of seeing. Meaning, this is very important, right? So you say you now this my or I-ness comes when you say, so first of all, you see that a person exists. Okay, this person exists. Likewise, I also exist. Now there's a person, there's a rupa, there's a person, there's a face, there's a body, person exists. That is number one stupidity. There is a person who can think. There is a thinker who exists. Then somebody is living, right? So all these things, right? You can see, think, enjoy, right? And think that you are living. All this is basically, these are all connected with I, myself. I see, I live, I enjoy, right? So that's where, so where you actually, how to explain this? Where you confine yourself or where you withdraw yourself from the truth of the nature, right? Only makes I, right? So that's why people try to always correct themselves. You can have your opinion, you can have, but what I am saying is this. In organizational cultures, most of the time people come to like, objective is proving your point. Your point may be utterly useless in next 5 minutes time, right? Doesn't matter, right? So egoism is the identification of the seer with the instrumental power of seeing by the appearance, uh, by seeing, by feeling, by thinking. Only this whole I-ness comes to the picture. There is an I, there's a person exists. I am different, right? So that's why sometimes we don't realize that animal and human are the same, right? So this is why we actually we build a zoo, because we believe we are so superior, and animals are for our entertainment. What if one day animals become more superior and we become their entertainment? That can happen. That can happen. Today you are my boss, tomorrow I'm your boss, right? I have seen that in organizations, right? So it's very simple as that, right? As far as you have people and you are hurting the snake, snake is your entertainment. But at the moment the snake's fang just touch your body, you become the snake's entertainment, right? So understanding that will basically help you to bring this I away, right? Be kind to everything. Then Sukha Anushyahi Ragaha. Now, pleasure leads to desire and emotional attachment, right? Do you love the things that you hate? Do you love the things that you hate? Maybe except for the partner, right? So, otherwise, just kidding, right? So, pleasure leads to desire. So, something gives you pleasure, something gives you happiness, something gives you joy, right? What is the next then? You might want to repeat it, right? You liked some food, food felt nice. Then what happens? You go home and tell that to your parents. Why you tell that to your parents? Naturally, you want to go there again, maybe with your parents, right? Because that pleasurable feeling is in your mind, right? Now you have a bond with even food, right? So you see somebody nice. So that's why they say love at first sight. Most of the time, people don't do a full scale research about another person before you marry, right? First of all, you like the person's appearance. If the person looks like a devil, you will not like the person, right? Right? It scares you. But at the first appearance itself, then starts a little bond. Then the bond gets stronger through the voice, through the habits, through that what that person is doing for you, and all of it, the bond get like really tight, right? So that pleasure leads to desire and emotional attachment. Pleasure leads to desire and emotion. If you are attached to anything today, it's because that particular thing has given you happiness, pleasure. If you even like a particular place in your house, why you like that particular place is comparatively that particular place is more convenient to you, giving you more, happiness than the rest of the house. Simple as that, right? That gives you the desire and emotional attachment, right? Then dukkha anushyahi dveshaha. Unhappiness. Dukkha is unpleasantness, sorrow, grief, unhappiness, pain, distress, agony. Anushyayi, meaning followed by close connection. It has a close connection to dveshaha. What is dvesha? Aversion, hate. I don't like, dislike, distancing. Unhappiness leads to hatred. For an example, sometimes you may recall. See, I'm taking a lot of human examples because this Patanjali Yoga Sutra has to be understood by the human brain. It's an inside job. So no point taking stones and things as examples, right? So sometimes there are people who haven't done anything for you, right? Anything bad for you, but still you don't like, right? So what happens is you might looking at somebody, uh, I don't feel good, I don't like, right? So if you really carefully observe, after some point you hate that person for no reason. Unpleasantness or unhappiness gives root to dvesha, hatred, right? So when the hatred sometimes come to the maximum, you cry, right? So unhappiness leads to hatred. These are, so one would say, oh yeah, so pleasure leads to desire and emotional attachment. Don't you know that, right? We must have heard about it, but we don't know it. So today, learn that it is written black and white in the scripture itself. So it's right, right? So pleasure leads to desire and emotional attachment. Then unhappiness leads to hatred. What's the next good news? Swasa swarasa vahi vidusha apithata arudha apinivesha. Now we are talking about apinivesha, avatanha. Self-preservation or attachment to life. Self-preservation or attachment to life is abhinivesha or bhavatanha, is the subtlest of all afflictions, right? It is found even in wise men, right? It's a very nice sentence, sutra. What it says is, how much you are wise, how much knowledgeable you are, right? One of the things which will, at least at a subtle level, inside your mind is the bhavatanha. I may be such a person, I know the whole Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But if somebody come and put the gun to my head right now, I will shiver. Why? Bhavatanha, abhinivesha, which is also klesha. Or if you can be like, yeah, shoot, no problem. Okay, keep shooting, no problem. I'll keep smiling. I'm ready to go, no problem. Right? So you don't find people like that. That's why even sometimes when you do these protests and all, they say, we are doing the protest till death. At some point, when the death comes closer to you, you are being rushed to the hospital, right? Because I am not ready for that, right? Then I'll stop with the 10th sutra. Let me take one more minute. Te prati prashava heyaha sukshmaha. Subtle afflictions are to be minimized and eradicated by a particular process of involution, right? Meaning, these even subtle afflictions are klesha. Even these subtle ones need to be taken down by contemplating on them, understanding what it is. Go into detail, and understand it's a klesha, right? You need to write down somewhere, I am scared to die, right? Which means I have the abhinivesha, I have the bhavatanha, I love this life, I want to live, I don't want to let this go, right? So if you actually go into detail and contemplate on it, and you should even get out of it, right? If you get out of it, then you don't have it. It's very hard, right? So that's why they say the most wisest people, if they have got rid of all the kleshas, this little klesha, at least in a smaller layer, it's with them. Even the most wisest people. So you need to get rid of that as well for you to say that my mind is out or free from kleshas. Otherwise, kleshas are there. You might, so these are this is actually good for the people who say, I am out of klesha. Then if I show a gun to your head, then the words will come out, meaning not ready. I am out of kleshas, but I'm scared to die. I love my life. I love this body. I love all the facilities around me. Right? This is the normal nature. So that's Patanjali has properly coined it and said, you can stay out of all the kleshas. can become a monk and everything. But when the gun is pointed at your head, if you are shivering, one klesha still is there at a very subtle level, right? Yeah, so it says we can actually conclude with this. Dhyana, dhyana heyaha tad vrittayaha, meaning through dhyana or meditation, reflection, or paying attention, only you can actually get rid of this fluctuations by creating fluctuations created through gross or subtle afflictions. So these afflictions need to be taken out. How? Through meditation. So the next week we will learn what this meditation includes, right? How to do this meditation, right? So just to sum up, so we started the second chapter. So second chapter we talk about the Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is the yoga of action. So we learned all the theory that we need to learn, the words, the way how the mind operates, and what are the thoughts. Thoughts are generated by the senses, and how to take care of the senses, and all these things we learned. If you're unhappy, how to be happy, all this theory we learned. Now we are learning the sadhana. So that's where we come to sadhana pada. So we are talking about Kriya Yoga, meaning yoga of action. So how you do the Kriya Yoga? Three things. Number one is self-study and study of the scriptures. So basically three things. One is tapas, study of the scriptures, and then learn to see the ultimate truth in everything. Don't deny it, right? Don't deny it. That is number one. So three things. Then he said, the practice of yoga reduce afflictions and leads to samadhi. When you practice yoga, the kleshas will come down. When the kleshas come down, you reach to the samadhi. Then he says, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha are the kleshas. Avidya, not knowing the spiritual knowledge. Asmita, I am a person. Raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, or the likeness to life, clinging to life, or fear of death. These are the kleshas, right? Then he says, lack of true knowledge is the source of all the pains and sorrows. They are dormant. So, avidya, or the kleshas, sorry, not avidya, the kleshas are there in your mind in four ways. Number one is fully inactive. Number two is little active. Number three is more active. Number four is maximum. Right? So we always in our mind, these four things are, so right now I don't have a fear of death. So that is under the carpet right now, right? But if I hear the gunshots around, then it becomes actually fully active, right? When I watch the TV these days, it will come a little loud, but still I don't have the fear. But I know about death right now. Death is happening, but I don't have the fear. But if you hear the gunshot next to your house, then you will get the fear. Then when you see the gun on your head, it will be at the maximum. Right? So that's how the kleshas, these burning desires are also in your head. Right? Burning desires, my I-ness, the scared feeling of losing life, all these things. Then mistaking what is not permanent or what is impermanent as permanent, what is impure as pure, what is pain as pleasure, right? So, and what is, so you are part of the nature, but you don't see it. You think you are a separate part, separate to the nature, right? That is avidya. That is what you call as avidya, not seeing the truth in everything, right? Then egoism is the understanding the seer. So you understand yourself through these sense organs as a separate person, mind. So I have a character. I am a person in this society. I have a designation. I have a wealth class. right? I drive this car because I belong to this class. All this is basically, it's all what you think, see, and gather with your sense organs. Then, Sukha Anushyahi Ragaha. Pleasure leads to desire and emotional attachment, right? This is like Rosamale Natu, right? Rose is nice, but through that beautiful feeling when you touch the tree, you get hurt, right? Under the beauty, you have the attachment and desire, which is a klesha, right? Then, dukkha anushayi dvesha. Unhappiness leads to hatred. First, the subtlest form is unhappy. You don't like to see a particular person, but then it will develop, and then come to a hatred. Then self-preservation or attachment to life is the subtlest form of all the afflictions. This is the subtlest one. Always you don't have the fear of death, right? Sometimes when you do yoga asana, you get the fear of death, right? So even the most wise people have this in a very subtle way. Maybe you can call them, they have gone beyond all the other kleshas, but this is there, right? Then subtle afflictions are to be minimized and by eradicated by a process of evolution, right? What does that mean? These things are keep on contemplating. You need to get out of this. Number 11, the fluctuations of the consciousness created by the gross and subtle afflictions are to be silenced through meditation. So this needs to be stopped. How we are going to stop it? Through meditation. Right? So that is our lesson today. Right? So 11 sutras are done. I'll finish off this, but then after that we will again go back to kind of a yoga versus yoga sutra class. We will start practicing a couple of things. Right? Good. So we will end the session from here. So after that, you can ask any questions if you have. Hands in Anjali Mudra. पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Right. So thanks a lot.